good evening or good afternoon, but to men, women, and children of all ages. The lights just went on in the theater. You know, I always think I know what I'm going to say. And then I put this little thing on, this phone, and I stare into myself and say, I know. I just have to do what God tells me to do and say what he wants me to say and respect your time, because I really try not to go over half an hour. Most of you don't have that long an attention span to listen to me. Some of you do. And that's what I want to take just a few minutes to say again. Thank you. Haiti checked in today. Puerto Rico. Colombia. You know, I forget that Facebook is international. In my narrow world, I forget that because I don't do all the TikToks and the Instagram. I mean, I don't do a lot of it. Plus, my world is, in general is pretty self-contained. So I forget that Facebook is international. So internationally, I want to say thank you. It's amazing. Some of you I know have been with me from the beginning, and some of you are new. And I am checking your profiles out. Even if it's till 12 o'clock at night, I want to know where you're from and, oh my goodness, what you do. And I'm fascinated. So for those who've just come on, I also have to say thank you. And to those who've stayed with me, thank you a lot. As in any series on TV or streaming, you know they always have to give you a little highlights of what was previously done. Now, we're only in chapter 7, so I can kind of take you up to date. And again, for those who get bored, you're not going to want to hear, oh no, here she goes again. Oh, the honeymoon's gay, and oh, the fear factor in 1981. But for new people coming on, or for those who don't have my book, which the majority of you don't, but I'm getting a lot of people from Missouri, where my publisher, Michelle Guines, is in Grandview, Purpose Publishing. And I told her today, I said, oh my goodness, I had a couple of Facebook people get on, and they knew your husband and your friends. I said, send out a press release that I'm doing this. So that's the way it is. So again, go to susanmintz.com, and you can get caught up with the short story version and the media page, and you'll know all you have to know. You don't have the book and can't do it the way I'm doing it, but you can get an overview of my life, which will make things easier for some of you. You can go back through Facebook, and you can get caught up with everything. If you have about 5 hours or in the middle of the night you can't sleep, this will put you to sleep. No, it won't. No, but you're not going to be able to absorb it all if and when as I start going through the entire book. So you'll have to either back up on Facebook, just go previously viewed, and check that out. And I'm very grateful that Facebook keeps my story up that I've done today for 24 hours, but then it's on Facebook all the time. So it's up to you if you want to know more, you want to know less, you don't want to know anything. So for the new people coming on, website susanmintz.com, I'm gonna where we are right now is I'm questioning. It's chapter 7. Is there a God? And I will give you that in a moment. But to back up to the people who are just coming on, we went through the honeymoon in Spain where he tells me he's gay. The fear factor in 1981 when AIDS rears its ugly head in the world, and Jeff being bisexual, it was a possibility. Chapter 3 was celibacy to protect myself, and that worked. 4, the dreaded diagnosis that he was full-blown AIDS-related pneumonia on June 19th, 1992. Chapter 5, no more lies. On June 20th, he was put in the hospital with almost dying, very, very ill. I had to tell his parents there could be no more lies. Finally, the truth had to come out. And that's where I'm coming from the beginning, where he tells me what he is, till June 20th, 1992. He's in the hospital, And his parents came. They were able to come there in time enough to be able to see him. And as ill as he was, and I'm turning the pages because I got to find out the other thing. One of the most important things was why I was so, I was just obnoxious and angry and frustrated easily, and I just wasn't really a nice person all that much. And I admit it. I thank God for giving me a little bit more kindness. I had a lot of love in me, I just don't know how to express it. Because I always was asking the why me questions, and through my writing I was able to explore so much of myself. The other thing is I'm doing this sequentially as the journals come forth. I wrote in my journals through this whole thing, 15 journals over 2+ years, every single day. So for those of you, to me it's sequential, because as I reread my journals, having to put my book together, I had to do it in what was coming up next. And the issues were in order for me, but this is how I had to work it in order to even format a book. I asked a lot of why me questions, which only made me angrier. And again, a lot of these issues you won't have to face now, or maybe you have faced them, but honey, you're going to face a lot of this stuff at some point in your life. You're going to have fear. You're going to hear something you don't want to hear. You're going to have to stop lying. Big one. You're going to have to start telling the truth. And you're just going to have to stop being so rough on yourself. Cut yourself some slack. All right? There's no cookbook with how to play life. It's every day. Make your plans. Hope you can stick to them. You think you know what you're doing? Chances are you don't. So I was very frustrated because I was always asking myself for 23 years so much about why me. And the first big why me was, why did I get pregnant? The second one was, why did he stay married to me? Jeffrey was the one who was having the affairs, wanted the gay lifestyle. Why did he just want to stay with me? The third one was, why did AIDS happen? Because when it first started, and early on, I mean, I always talk about the stigma that still exists, but early on, it was some horrible stuff that was said by pastors and preachers and groups about it being the plague for gay men, and it was just, I mean, it was vicious. Jeff and I didn't know from that personally because we had family and good friends. But I can tell you now, the things that were said and done, it was brutal for people. And that was, why did this horrible illness come along? And why did he have to get this disease? I answered all those questions through my writing. And what at the end of chapter 6 I figured out was, we both made sacrifices and compromised many times to stay in our passionate and tumultuous marriage. But, quote, capital, why not, end quote. We were supposed to, and the only why not me would do it all over again. That's what changed. I went from why me to why not me. So if you're going through a terrible time and you don't know what's really happening and you're questioning everything, ask the why me's. Write. Oh, please write. I can't tell you how rewarding it is. I mean, it just really is rewarding. Ask yourself, why did this happen? Why did this happen? And see what you come up with. You won't have any answers. There's no answers to the why me. You will get angry. You will get frustrated. You will get mean. You'll turn to drugs or alcohol and other issues to quench that. Start asking why not me, and look around at other people who are going through stuff too. Do you think they wanted to wake up that day and say, yay, I think I'll get cancer today. Won't that be wonderful? Or they'll say, gee, my mom's got Alzheimer's. It's okay. No, life is serious. There are real issues and choices to make. and consequences to your choices. So, I will say, definitely, ask why not me. Everything in your life, eventually, if you let it, will fall into place. You'll accept the fact that your life is the choices you make, the consequences of those choices, and you will have to live to learn with them. Learn to live with them, or live to learn with them, whatever comes first. We started here, now chapter 7, Is There a God? Saturday, June 27th, 1992. He's been in the hospital for a week. And I am going to just back up a little before I get on to a new one, because you're going to learn in this chapter a lot about me. You've learned a lot so far, or think you've learned a lot. Please go to SusanMintz.com and check on the short story and the interviews. Please, you'll know exactly what's going on, or you might get lost in the process. But he'd been ill, and I was watching him sleep, and I said, I know my prayers have been answered, because the doctor said he has pulled through this crisis. I personally felt something more powerful inside of me, and it was God speaking to me, as He's spoken to me so much in my life. And people have said I was crazy. Fine, so I'm crazy. Big deal, you're not paying my rent. Since there wasn't anything else I could do, I resigned myself to the fact that if you recovered, it was because God wanted it that way. I also said that if you don't believe in God, I'm not here to preach. I'm not here to condemn, condone, or tell you anything like that. But you had to have faith at some time in your life for something. You had to have hope for something. If not, I don't know where you've been, because it doesn't work any other way. So in this chapter, Is There a God? And a lot of it now you're going to learn more about myself, where I'm difficult. Was difficult. I'm going to start here, and then I'll start again, because I know where I stopped on Sunday. But I said, you know how, and reading from your book, this is really good for me. I say, this is good for me. It may hit some nerves. It may turn some of you off. But I really try to share my life, my love, my losses, my good times, my bad times. This is really personal. I mean, I could have a professional and probably really read it. We tried that once and it didn't work. But in general, it's a good story. It's a great story. And it's meant to go to the world. And I know it's going to a lot of countries, even if it's one person in that country, that one person in that state. I know it is. So it said here, I've always felt spiritually close to my own personal God, but I haven't been consistently faithful in my beliefs. This past year has tested my faith more than any other time in my life. So this is Monday, April 18th. I think that might be important to say, which would save you hours and hours of going back. But some of you want to know everything. You want to go back. That's good. If not, pick up where we are. As I've watched this disease slowly take over your body, my religious convictions have been seriously challenged. I've been confronted with questions and issues I've never wanted to address before. I have been afraid to open myself up to feelings so intensely personal and private that I've never been able to talk about them to anyone. I never even shared my thoughts, Jeffrey, with you. Until this very moment, I wasn't sure what I could handle, what I believed in, or if I could believe at all. Only through my writing. I don't care if you write a sentence a day, and then 2, and then 3. Just pick up a piece of paper and write. That's all I did almost 30 years ago. Well, yeah, on June 19th. I just picked up a little piece of paper and started to write. If you get nothing else out of this, you're getting the fact that writing will help you so much. I wasn't sure what I could handle, what I believed in, or if I could believe at all. Only through my writing am I able to ask myself, quote, is this what the past year has been for? Is your illness the reason why I must finally deal with my fears and doubts concerning my spiritual beliefs? Has the time come for me to ask myself once and for all, do I really believe in God? Has your illness forced me to take an honest look at my own mortality? This is an issue that has always been too frightening for me to personally address. So again, I'm sitting at his bedside, reflecting on my life, dealing with things as I'm dealing with them, and writing. Went through his parents, thank God, came while he was still alive. Unconditional love on their end. We had great doctors. We had the best of everything, but he was gravely ill. So now, you're going to learn a little bit about me. As I look back over my childhood years, I know that I didn't like the hypocrisy I saw in my strict Orthodox Jewish upbringing. I think on Passover, this might hit a few Jews, but I don't mean it now. I'm just saying, then I'm writing. I look back over my childhood years. I know that I didn't like the hypocrisy I saw in my strict Orthodox Jewish upbringing. The old-fashioned Judaic principles and kosher rules, my father was a kosher butcher, rules my family adhered to, caused me much confusion and doubt. This wasn't the way I wanted to carry out my religious beliefs. My faith came from my heart, not from useless practices I'd found unnecessary. And this is not to hurt anybody. This is me, then, in 1992, June 27. My God, let's say here, my faith came from my heart, still does, not from useless practices I found unnecessary. My God would know me by what I did for others, not for what others thought I should do. Wow, I don't remember that, but that is good. My God would know me by what I did for others, not for what others thought I should do. Please take that advice. And so over the years, I've challenged my beliefs many times during our marriage. I haven't understood why I've always needed a sign or some evidence that God existed. How often did I say to you, quote, Jeff, I envy those who truly believe in God, end quote. Why can't I have that unwavering acceptance of a divine presence in my life? Why don't I have that undoubting faith I know others possessed? Did I use my faith as a crutch, only believing when times were difficult or when everything seemed hopeless? Were my words paying lip service to help me through my darkest hours? Was I a hypocrite because I asked for God's help only when faced with adversity or hardship? When my life was running smoothly and the times were good, why did I need to believe in God? Did I ask for God's help but failed to give thanks when I received what I had asked for? These questions have haunted me during the past year, and now as I write, I will face my fears once and for all. This is so powerful because I didn't like being brought up in a kosher, strict Orthodox home. And I think, as in all religions, many times you kind of pick and choose what you can do and deal with in your life. It just wasn't for me. I am a Jewish woman, and I believe in Yeshua. So maybe I'm a Two Testament Jew. I can live with that. I am a Two Testament Jew. But growing up, I found it very challenging, and I found the hypocrisy of my faith very difficult. And that's why Jeffrey and I, we chose Reform Judaism. It was easier, less restrictive. But questioning my faith through his illness helped bring me through so much. And now, as I reflect 30 years later, I can't believe I ever questioned God, because I know God has purposed me to tell this story. I know He purposed me to talk into a little phone. And He purposed me not to care how many people watch or view. He purposed me to talk to me again and again every night about this time. God purposed me to tell my story to me. Here we go again. You know when I put the glasses on, I'm reading. Anyway, a few weeks ago, I was at the lowest point in my life. I felt helpless, hopeless, and disheartened. I almost packed my suitcases and ran away. I wanted to be rid of you, my life, and my pain. I went out on the balcony, and as I watched a million stars brilliantly shining above me, I screamed, quote, "God, why have you made my life so difficult and presented me with these challenges? Why have you given me so many burdens to carry around? I don't understand why life should be so terribly cruel. Why would you want anyone to go through this kind of torment and suffering? Why, God, are you doing this terrible thing to us? Why does this wonderful man have AIDS?" End quote. Can any of you say in your life you haven't felt some of that? That you haven't doubted God a little bit? You're lying if you say questioning God. You don't. You're lying. At that time in your life now, you may, or you might be your chosen profession, but there will be times when it's okay to ask God, why are you doing this to me? And then, of course, it's the why not me. But it's okay. I felt no problem doubting or questioning and doing. And I was, a couple weeks before he was diagnosed, I wanted to run away from everything. I had had it. And as I said, I'm going to repeat this one again. I went out on the balcony. I wanted to pack my suitcases and run away. I wanted to be rid of you, my life, and my pain. This was a couple weeks before he was diagnosed and went in the hospital. I went out on our balcony, and as I watched a million stars brilliantly shining above me, I screamed, and I was screaming. Quotation. God, why have you made my life so difficult and presented me with these challenges? I think this is really good with Passover and Easter. Why have you given me so many burdens to carry around? Long suffering. I don't understand why life should be so terribly cruel. Why would you want anyone to go through this kind of torment and suffering? Why, God, are you doing this terrible thing to us? Why does this wonderful man have AIDS? End quote. Just writing this down causes my hands to shake and my body to tremble. Part of me understands that I will not make it through this time without God's help. But how do I allow myself to unconditionally believe? How can I put all my faith and trust into something I have never been certain about? If I have doubted my faith in the past, how can I be sure that I will never doubt again? And if I doubt my God now, where will I find the strength in the future? My heart is broken, and I don't know what to do. Once and for all, I must either accept God's presence in my life, or I must stop pretending. During the past week, I realized that praying and believing were the only things alleviating my doubts and fears. In these, my darkest hours, my faith in God is all I have. I hope I will not disappoint my God or disappoint myself even more. For those of you who can't stay on through these episodes, I understand. But for those of you who will go back or who will pick up where we are, who have the book or get a book, I think what I'm saying now is so important to you, because when you have doubts and you have fears, the only way you can face them is to face them. And what it says here, and I know people deal, I said, my heart is, and I'm transposing my journals. I'm transposing 15 journals, and I'm having to rewrite and sift through all this and get it into a book. Try it. It's not easy. Writing every single day for over 2 years, and then years later putting it in a book, and then years later. So it says here, if I doubt my God now, this is when he's ill in the hospital a week later, where will I find the strength in the future? My heart is broken, and I don't know what to do. Once and for all, I must either accept God's presence in my life, or I must stop pretending. During the past week, I realized that praying and believing were the only things alleviating my doubts and fears. In these, my darkest hours, my faith in God is all I have. I hope I will not disappoint my God or disappoint myself even more. Boy, when I get crying over my own stuff, you know it's intense. Since I am certain now that you will recover, I have made my final decision. I have accepted God's presence in my life, and I will never doubt that faith again. I know why I have been constantly tested throughout our marriage. I was supposed to go through these hardships and troubled times because I had to find out that my God was within me. Hear this. I was supposed to go through these hardships and troubled times because I had to find out that my God was within me. To finally accept God into my life, I had to give myself permission to let that feeling in. It has been through my doubts and fears that I have reached this higher level of understanding about myself. If I ask the same questions I did before with an open mind and a believing heart, I will find the strength I need to carry on. If I couldn't resolve my problems before, it was because I didn't know where to find the solutions. If I have suffered alone for too long in the past, I do not want to suffer any longer. If I have been tormented for years because I questioned the power of my beliefs, I do not want to torment myself anymore. If I have felt alone and helpless, it was because I wouldn't allow my God to take my sorrow away. I was a stranger to myself because I doubted my faith. Now I have the peace of mind I desperately need because I have turned my anger and sorrow over to my God. If I didn't want to believe before you took ill, it is the only thing I want to do now. Do you hear this? I mean, you're talking about an Orthodox girl raised in the Orthodox, strict Orthodox Jewish home, went into Reform Judaism, have made some serious choices about my beliefs, and as a New Testament Jew, I say, and if you don't know that, I'm kind of old and I'm kind of new. Literally, I'm kind of old and I'm kind of new. But I've learned that God is personal, that you can't believe like anyone else or do it. God is in here, and it's very personal. I love this chapter. Let me finish a little more. Now I have the peace of mind I desperately need because I have turned my anger and sorrow over to my God. If I didn't want to believe before you took ill, hear it. It is the only thing I want to do now. Also during the past week, I have reached a plateau with your conditions. I have made a gradual transition from anger to denial to final acceptance. I actually adjusted to the insanity around me. I'm getting comfortable with the day's routine, and I'm feeling some stability. I almost know what to expect, and I've gotten accustomed to certain things. I do not feel as panicked or fearful at this time. I am feeling more in control of my emotions and feelings as I accept what is going on around me. I know you will get well and that you will go home. That is why today I can honestly address the acceptance of God's presence in my life. There had to be a reason why you were supposed to live. Maybe I don't know at this moment what all those reasons are, but God has a plan for me, for us, and for AIDS. And He does. God has a plan for you. That's why I always say, don't give up in the middle of it. Don't know how it's going to turn out. You don't know where your journey's going. You really just can't give up. No matter how rough it gets, please keep going forward. I feel like I'm a pastor right now, but I'm not. But I am an evangelist to a point. But God has a plan for me. He has it for you and for AIDS. How can I doubt this? Instead of this disease destroying us, we will face it together, and it will keep us together. Does God want you to live because we have other matters to complete? Was I supposed to doubt my faith and be tested by this disease? Yes, Jeff, because once I made the decision to believe, it became my only weapon against an unbeatable foe. If we were to face your long and difficult recovery together, I would never be able to doubt my God again. That's wonderful. I'm going to stop here on Monday, and I'll go back a little bit over that, and then we will go into the frustration factor. So, what have we got? We got someone 30 years later who is telling you never to give up, and I can say it because as much as I wanted to, I never did. And that maybe I have more faith and hope for you than you do for yourself, and that's why this might be good. And I also realized that it says to I don't know, in the beginning of each it says, do I want to put a name on it or a description? I think maybe I should do that. But they're all running in together. Remember, we're taking it from the beginning of my marriage, and we're going to be taking it through his passing in 94. So I can't, keep going back over everything. You'll have to either go back yourself over Facebook and check the view it out then, or buy my book. Because Michelle Gines would be really happy, my publisher. So what I want to say is, never stop believing, never stop hoping, and never stop praying. Even if you don't understand the power of prayer, it'll make you feel better to turn it over, to give it up. I have to. And all these years later, God is more important to me than ever, for my health, for my sanity, for how I treat people, for respect for people, for kindness. I'm still kind of stubborn, and I'm still not where I would like to be, but I'm better. So I thank you all who are online, Jamal, Elaine, and I know there's other ones, because usually when I'm done in the show, a whole bunch of little people cross. Say thank you. It's been a long reading, but I felt like I couldn't give up on that. I'll see you tomorrow night, good Lord willing. Please share. Share with your friends. Share with your unfriends, your colleagues, your family, and share with people you don't like or know. And smile once in a while and cut yourself some slack. You're human. I always say, shalom, hello, shalom, goodbye, and shalom, peace. Shalom, peace. Have some peace within yourself. Write, pray, speak. Don't keep it in. God bless you all. Thank you for your support. Bye. Shalom. Finish.